Hey everybody, welcome into the Beehive. I'm your host, TheBee at LLC, and this is where we stack precious metals like it's pollen and nectar. And today we're going to be talking with Everard, a bullion dealer who has a local brick and mortar shop in Jackson Hole, Wyoming. And we're going to get him on, and he's running a bit late, so I think we'll get him in about a half an hour. In the meantime, I believe I'm going to be having Space Miner join me and fill in that void. So yeah, we're going to talk some precious metals, what's been going on the last few weeks in the metals market, and speak on some of these issues. So whilst we are waiting, let's go check the metals market out and see where silver and gold are sitting at the moment. So being that the war popped off in Iran, you can generally, so there's a thought process out there that says, silver and gold do well when the market crashes during some type of event like this in war, and silver and gold will do really well in wartime. And in general, that is true. However, there are some nuances, right? Like in this case, a lot of people were surprised that the war with Iran breaks out and we have a pullback in the metals upon opening Monday. And the war broke out over the weekend, and Monday comes along and we get the metals knocked down. And so some people are like, why are the metals going down when there's a new war? Isn't that when metals are supposed to perform? Well, yes and yes. So one of the reasons that metals get knocked down right at the open, like on Monday, after a couple days of knowing we're in war, is because silver and gold in the paper market are the fastest access to liquidity for paper traders. So if you're a paper trader, which I am not, so I'm no expert in this, I've just heard this through other people, but if you have, a bunch of different accounts and you've invested in a bunch of stocks and whatnot, and the market starts to crash like it does or pull back hard, and maybe you get some margin calls on some of these other accounts, and you need to get that liquidity put into those other accounts, or they'll shut down your accounts. And to get that liquidity, that's where you run into this issue where silver and gold pull back at the onset of this war. And a reason for that is silver and gold in the paper market have the quickest access to liquidity. So for this is what I've been told. So a lot of these other stocks, commodities, things like that are in the market and you're invested in them, to liquidate them, to get cash out of those accounts, I hear it takes a few days. And that's where silver and gold usually get hit pretty hard, because they're the most liquid in that paper market. So you can have access to gold and silver like within 1 day or under 24 hours or something like that. And so it's the quickest way to access cash out of the market. So if the whole market starts falling or trading down and people need liquidity, the first thing they're going to go to is their silver and gold, because it is the most liquid access to cash to cover those other accounts. So that's why during these wars you see a strong pullback in the metals as well in the first week or two of something happening like this. So gold and silver will pull back with the rest of the market in the first few days to week, but then in the long run they're going to turn around and take off more than the other stocks. So yeah, from my understanding, that's one of the reasons where anytime the whole stock market starts to tank, even in this situation where gold and silver should shine for that first duration of the market pullback, you're going to have silver and gold pulling back as well, because that's where everybody goes to access their liquidity, from my understanding. Some of you guys in the chat here can clue me in if there's any truth to that. Maybe we have some paper market traders in here. Neil's Han Dynasty, welcome in. Good to see you. Think Differently 3000. Gerald Draper, JM Unleashed. Hello, hello. Hope you guys are well. Let me know if you have heard anything to that idea in the market as well. So let me pull up my screen here. We have silver sitting at 85.22 at the moment, and gold is at 5,181. Why is that not pulling up for me? Oh, here we go. Just running slow. So I think I'm looking into buying a new laptop too. From my understanding, Macs use memory as RAM, and RAM is evidently where I'm having issues. Because like I'm trying to share my screen right now, and if I try to share a screen and play a video, the video just spins in time as like it can't access it or play it. And from my understanding, that is a memory issue or a RAM issue. And on these newer laptops, you can't just add more RAM into it. You have to buy a whole new laptop. So that's what I've been trying to look into the last few days, and cleaned up my laptop. Is still not working for me. So I think I have to go get a laptop with more RAM. But anyway, okay, so we have pulled up the share screen right now. So we got gold price sitting at 5,181. We have silver, and this is in bullion by post. This is I believe, over in the UK, somewhere in there. But yeah, they do deal with the US as well. Silver's at 85.50. Platinum 2,219. Palladium, I haven't looked at it for a while. It's at 1,700. And let's check our ratio on gold to silver. We are on the 5-year at 56.19. Let's bring it up to the month, and we are at 61.27 on the month. So I think that's not too bad considering these types of pullbacks. So I'm excited to see the ratio staying fairly decently low, and I do expect it to spring back down even lower, back into the 50s, 40s, and in the 30s. I'm looking to do some silver to gold, start the silver to gold exchange on my end. So yeah, Rockamos, good to see you. So silver is yeah, not a bad area to buy. I was talking with some other people, and my number when it for the last few weeks, I $70 is $70 is kind of my base case for the pullback, and $80 I have bought at 90, and I'm looking to buy a little bit more if it breaks back towards the low 80s. So yeah, I am actually still purchasing at these levels, because for me, this is something that this is just this, this run up from like 30 to 120 is confirmation, in my opinion, of why I started stacking, why I started this channel, the things I was saying about silver, gold, precious metals, the failing fiat system, false reality that we've been living in, my whole life that I've been living in, is coming to an end, and this is what I was expecting. And so for me, this is just confirmation. A lot of people in stackers think that, this is going to be a one-time glitch, something along the lines of what we've seen in 1980, 2011, where you have a spike up only for a few hours and then it crushed back down. I don't believe that's going to be the case. I think this is just confirmation that the playing field is no longer level, as I've been saying. And so I expect, like I say, of course, there's going to be, a lot of volatility. I highly expect that. And on these fallbacks, pullbacks, I think 70 is probably kind of a low point that I'm looking for. Maybe a bit under that, somewhere in that area. And then I think it will turn around and take back off up over 100. And towards the end of the year, the high hundreds. So that's where I'm at it on my thoughts. And of course, I like silver because I don't have very much to invest in the metals. So for my money, for the small amount of money that I have to put into it, I'm looking for both safety from the fiat system plus upward gains. And often in this type of a market, especially the market as I see it, I think silver is going to outperform gold, as it usually does late in a bull market. And I think especially so in this case, I think not only is it going to outperform gold per its usual case in the latter parts of a bull run, I think it will even overperform per our last few runs where that has taken place. I think it will be more so this time. So I am definitely strong in silver. But that, again, is because I'm coming in at a low threshold and looking for upward gains as well as safety from the fiat system. So that's why I like silver so much. If I were rich, if I had lots of value, I would definitely be putting a large chunk of my wealth into gold. I see gold as safety. I see gold as, safety, a hedge against the fiat system. And it will obviously appreciate because of, what's happening in the fiat market. So all that value has to go somewhere, and gold is going to be the safe move. It's what banks are moving into. But I don't think it has the upside potential that silver does. So that's my base case on those things. Okay, looks like we got Space Miner joining us here. Let me bring him up. Maybe.
Evening.
If I can.
I seem to be here.
Boy, I have got to get another computer. I'm so surprised, and I don't know why suddenly it started acting so poorly. It's not like
Can you all hear me? Hey, y'all, can you hear me? All right, you guys can hear me, so we just lost B for a minute. What up, y'all? Long time. I don't get on here enough, do I? Talk about platinum. Oh, my. Yeah, platinum's gonna have its day, and a big day at that. We've been up until recently, we were working really close with Canada about some of the platinum resources they've been recently discovering. And B, you're on mute right now. And he's gone again. But so I went to send some metals off the other day to Canada, and Canada's not accepting metals from us, precious metals, jewels, crystals, all in the no-no category. Yes, and they're doing pretty well, aren't they? I have a couple stocks that have been doing pretty good. I aimed at rare earths, I aimed at refineries, and a few miners, and outside of that, not much, because these are doing great. Like, there's no reason to give up on them now.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Time for a new laptop. What can I say? Okay, well, thank you for joining me and running the show so far. Appreciate that. I'm not sure if anybody could hear my first rant or not, but yeah, we're here now. So only 5 tons of platinum mined in Australia. 5 tons mined in Australia. Well, I know that platinum is 10% size-wise of the silver market, and the silver market is a pretty small market. So it wouldn't take much to make the platinum market run.
Well, and again, we're gonna need to rediscover our energy independence and our metals independence. We got a lot of rediscovery to go through, and in that, we're going to see massive regulation lifts in a lot of our our eco controls. So, like, it wouldn't surprise me at all if tomorrow they started releasing a lot of the air restrictions, and a lot of like drilling restrictions and stuff, and any of these could like lifting the EV market. They were pushing real hard on the forced EV mandates, and then they lifted those mandates, which is going to allow automakers to reinvest in the catalytics. Right away, there's your surge in platinum. Any major medical overhaul is going to be a surge in platinums. If we decide to, rebuild our hospital system, that's a platinum surge. I mean, we're looking at a lot of hydrogen work and water purification, and that all takes platinum again. A lot of your electrolysis is platinum. A lot of your catalytics, your chemical catalytics are going to be platinums. Your hydrogen is going to be platinums. Your exhaust catalytics, platinums. Like, holy moly, we've just been waiting for it. But we've been economically suppressed.
Yeah.
The industries themselves have been suppressed, not the technologies per se, just the industries themselves.
And I think, and to add to that, I think the manipulation of gold and silver has, of course, done numbers, or has done a lot to the rest of the metals market. I think holding those down keeps the lid on some of these other metals and their volatility as well. And I would say, from my own personal view, I think just watching trade shut down and these tariffs go crazy. And if anyone is paying attention to how trade is being handled and shipping lanes and all of this, and you got a bunch of our NATO members that are, we're all starting to bicker with each other. And for me, it's no stretch to the imagination to think that, I think any of these commodities, and even like we were talking with coffee the other day, I think these commodities are all going to experience some value shocks to the upside, and especially in the metals, because even for the industries that we have a market now, I think that market is going to change, because when you're not looking at it, or think you can just make a call at any time and add a bunch more to your stockpile, when that changes to, oh wait, let's see, what do we need for the future, what can we access now, and can we even get it, is going to just, that alone is going to drive the market. Is that a crazy thought? Or
Well, strategic reserve is already responding. We're and the problem is with that is, like, for us, the low level end consumer, meaning the bullion industry, we're the end of the line, right?
yeah.
And so when we look at strategic reserves, problem is we're years outdated on the reports,
Yes.
and this is, of course, strategic and security minded, for the reason they do this. But on that note, as these reports are being released, we're seeing a massive increase, not only in our critical metals listing, like, meaning we have far more metals on our criticals list, but the actual strategic consumption of these has been increased on a lot of them, where before they weren't really worried. They felt like they had the time. They'll just do 5% of our domestic consumption.
Yep.
They'll match 5% of our domestic consumption as a strategic military reserve, right? Well, they're already increasing these percentages and cutting huge portions of parts of the military expenditures to make up for their strategic, and we were seeing this years ago. We're not going to have access to these figures for a few more years, and will we be surprised? I think so.
Yeah.
On how our own military has responded to this strategically.
Yep.
Not to mention national, like our federal reserves, like outside of our military strategic, we still have basic domestic strategic reserves as well. So
Yeah. Here, I'm pulling up silver reserves. Let's go. I'm going to pop, if I can share
yeah.
my screen, which is new.
And Neil's making my point here earlier. Any of your hydrogen works is going to immediately involve platinum. Dude, there's no way to make a sustainable freaking hydrogen engine without the use of platinum. You need it. Like, you can try to build these other things and they'll kind of last, but at the end of the day, electrolysis is, you just need platinum. Are you finding what you need? Yeah.
Yeah. This is reserves. This is a little different than I was looking for.
I had made a purchase of some rare earths. Go ahead.
Oh, sort of. I'll get there. But Neil says America is taking the platinum market from BRICS, but Canada. most of our platinum comes from Russia and Brazil. That's BRICS. So, we may open up and money starts to come into the metals, but uh, um, I don't know how we're going to, I don't see how because BRICS pretty much is the platinum market right now. But anyway, delayed. Come on, you piece of junk.
All right, you there? So, yeah, Neil, I think you're really nailing it right now. Americans need Canada for many, many, many reasons, but among those, yes, platinum. And I think I wouldn't be surprised at all if very soon we were to find out Canada is, in fact, one of the largest natural reserves in the world. It's geologically set up for it. The more explorations we do, the more we're keying into these heavy metals in these Canadian regions. And here we are that just the other day, Canada's not even accepting our metal, which means we're not communicating in precious metals. That's scary. We kind of need each other. It's going to get real expensive for Canada, some of this refining. We're a little bit more set up in the distribution and refining, in a lot of our logistical departments. Canada's more than happy to tear it up and shoot it out. But we need access to that for ourselves. And we've been trying to find other exploration points like the Elkhorn project, but we're mostly getting a lot of rare earths out of this, which again I believe is part of our major security features. Like, we got to get rare earths under control immediately. It's not just platinum, we need rare earths too. And again, back to that Elkhorn project is a really good point in project, because we're getting a lot of what we need out of this. We're discovering the major coppers, the nickels, the platinums. We're starting to pull our golds and more golds and silvers. We're starting to get more rare earths out of this. We're getting a lot of our other heavy metals, a lot of our transition metals, and a lot of it is on our border with Canada, right there. It's like it was supposed to be a shared resource the whole time. Yeah, we could be a powerhouse, JM. If there's a few of you that are probably old enough to remember the North American Alliance, and we had discussed this. Mexico, US, and Canada coming together, as a large extension of United States. We were all going to be united in travel. Like, we were going to be able to travel freely between one another. We were going to be able to they were talking about a shared currency, which I do believe could have been a powerhouse currency. It would have been a little tough to navigate politically, but I believe there was had we gained that unification. But I believe that there are some of those in power that get to make decisions that recognized that powerhouse and said, no, that would not benefit us. We need this division in order to absorb the resource. And if you have that kind of cohesion of resource and unity, well, you're not going to be able to run in there and snake it all up to make, a filthy man's profit. And so we got stuck without it. And in fact, a lot of our major infrastructure projects were geared towards this. In fact, we have a pipeline coming down from Canada right now that's of huge dispute that was based on this originally. There were companies that moved in and just said, yeah, they were so sure of it because it was such a solid plan. They were so sure of it. They ran out and started getting ahead of the project by putting in, infrastructure, natural gas and oil, water, electricity, started setting up power generation stations, to prepare for the infrastructure that was coming. We started building facilities to prepare for the political legalities of this, meaning, tracking people coming and going. And we were really, really, really close in a lot of ways. But I think it was just such a powerhouse. They knew that if they did this, it would be very hard to overturn later. And, because you'd have too many people involved. And it would be a hard one to back out of, without there being even larger and more significant risks involved. Because once we tie ourselves all together, if somebody cuts off a foot, man, we're done. We're all done then, and there was a sense of independence being lost in this that I think spooked a lot of people too. Yeah, exactly. Think. It's kind of a, think we were just discussing, Australia the other day, and that's another one of these. We're losing important trade members. Our silver and gold's not being allowed into you guys either. We're moving osmium through, just for the record. Osmium moved into Australia and osmium moved into Canada during this time. So we're not completely cut off from each other. It's going to take us learning how to socially navigate these systems, for us to lessen the impact on us as a people group. Our governments are going to do whatever our governments are going to do. And we can kind of socially insulate amongst each other and be ready for that response. And here we all are, diving into our precious metals saying, well, we'll be able to communicate through these. It's not the only thing we're going to be spending our money on, but I hope it's not the only thing we're spending our money on, but it's due. Yeah, I love hearing about platinum, though. I get excited about platinum. But the day platinum's jumping, man, I'll tell you what, I've always been prepared for the day platinum starts going crazy. That better be a red flag about what's coming. That means things are about to get expensive. Winston Churchill said socialism works in two places: heaven, where it is not needed, and hell, where they have it in abundance. He also said it was the equal sharing of misery. Yeah. Platinum was always geared to be over the price of gold, institutionally geared towards it. If we stopped making our decisions on trade ratios and started looking at natural occurrence ratios, production ratios, or consumption ratios, we find that gold is not the top tier of industrial metal, of metal that runs the world. it's a trusted source, but it's gold. Gold is valuable. Yes. It's important. Yes. Is it irreplaceable? In a few places. But where platinum and silver exist, they are, in fact, quite irreplaceable in many places. And if we absolutely removed silver and platinum from the face of the earth tomorrow, I mean, life as we know it would cease to exist and operate the way it does. Now, do the same with gold. Well, we're gonna. There's other metals we can. There's very few things that we actually like must have gold. Gold just happens to be really good at the things it does, but it's not completely irreplaceable in a lot of places. Whereas silver and platinum, like, literally are irreplaceable in some of the places they're held. So, not every place, but there's just very few. There are a few things, like if we got rid of gold, we wouldn't be able to do a few things. But I don't think it would cripple humanity by any means. You remove silver, dude, and we're like going to be crippled for a while. Same with platinum. And when we're talking about that, like in said hypothetical of platinum disappearing, does that mean all of our other platinum group metals disappear with it? Because that's nearly the reality of it. If we stop digging up platinum, we're gonna these other platinum group metals are going to be very minuscule and difficult to recover in these other places. Yes, we can find them in other places, but man, there's a reason they're called platinum group metals. They're very similar. They're usually in concert with each other, in companionship with each other. Where is B right now? He dropped off the face. I wonder if he's resetting his computer. Who all we got in here right now? So Gerald, we got Neil. I think was in here a moment ago. There was another name I had seen a moment ago. What up, Jake? Good to see you. B dropped off a minute ago. Unsure. Here's JM, of course, present, multitasking. Very glad to have you. I don't know, guys. We are barely into 26. What are you guys thinking? Give me three metals. Give me three metals that you're expecting, extreme effects in, whether it be up or down, but you think, three metals that we need to be really watching. Art, welcome in. Platinum, Osmium, and silver, he says. With ARK here, it's a good time to mention Rhenium as one of these critical metals. That's a perfect example of what we're talking about. Yeah, a natural occurrence near the occurrence of osmium. Roughly 45 tons, perhaps, production annually. which is nothing, and 80% of that being consumed by a single entity. Yeah, I'd say it's time for our critical metals to start mopping up, getting to work. Um, you know, yeah, we all got run to our silver, gold, platinums right away, and that's real easy to think. There we go. Thank you, Gerald. You're really hitting where I'm going with this. Uranium, lithium, and platinum. He's saying, um, nobody's um, given up their hope on uranium yet that I know of. And with we're about to be in a critical energy state, um, if we don't get our act together, especially with all this AI consumption, man. We're dumping everything in the world at powering AI to give us bad answers. You know, yeah, every now and then they pop something good out of it, but how much of our energy is going to this? How much of our supplies are going to this? You know, how long is this going to last before the next? Like, here's what I worry about with the AI thing, and I don't think I'm hearing anybody really talk about this. Everybody's talking about like energy consumptions, the metals that it's going to take to actually build these facilities. Yeah, we're not even talking about that yet. The metals it will take to build these facilities. We haven't even stepped on that yet, right? But here's what I don't think people are talking about is technology. Technology changes overnight. Overnight. All it takes is one company come out and say, all of these AI systems, moot. We got this brand new system that works this brand new way. Turns out we don't need this infrastructure anymore. Turns out it runs on something completely different, some other concept, And when that happens, and we have dumped gobs of energy and materials that are going to now be difficult to recover if we ever do, and we would have wasted generations of work on some novelty product compared to what's coming. That's the danger of sinking in our entire investments and reserves into these things like AI. Because if somebody comes out with it tomorrow, makes the whole thing moot, how much freaking money and material will we have wasted as a nation, as a people group? How many people are going to go broke overnight in stocks and bonds? How many energy facilities fired up giant nuclear facilities to power these AI facilities? And now, with the AI facilities being useless for all intents and purpose, they're not going to have the surrounding consumer base to support them anymore. And guess who's going to pay to keep those things running? The people. We see this all the time out of government. Here in my area, they built a whole freaking lake for an irrigation project that was never approved. It was never even approved. They weren't even close to, they didn't even have the plan approved of, and they went and built a lake. And when they got to the end of it, they found out there were some logistical issues, and this irrigation project will never happen. And so now they're like, we got this giant body of water that's filling up constantly, and if we don't circulate this water, it's all going to die. It'll be dead water. So we got to circulate this and pump it back. So they put in this giant infrastructure program to pump the water back to the other lake just to circulate water back and forth. And now it costs people gobs and gobs and gobs of money to pump water back and forth for nothing, for freaking nothing. And now the best that they can come up with is that they opened it to wakeboarders, or I mean paddle boarders. It's like a little paddle boarding lake now. And if they ever stop maintaining it, it's going to be a dead lake. And this knee-jerk reaction is what concerns me. That we knee-jerk, dump a whole bunch of money into everything without solidifying our foundations, which is what a lot of us in here are trying to accomplish right now. We're trying to secure our foundations, our financial foundations, and we're doing this with our precious metals and alternative investments. And we're recognizing these basic core fundamentals, and we're acting on it. You know, and where everybody else is knee jerking, you know, the hope is that we won't have to, and that's been kind of my goal. If I can avoid the knee jerk, I don't care if I got if I got a freezer full of beef for a year, right? I'm not worried about wild price swings in beef. If the price is too high, I'll eat out of the freezer for a bit and wait for it to come back down to a reasonable price, buy back in at a reasonable price, and then no more knee jerking about prices. I won't be affected in the same way. Well, we can do the same thing with our money. We can prevent the knee jerk, the knee jerk investments, the knee jerk sellouts, the knee jerk, infrastructure projects, that are more like, it's a phase that'll come and go. Micronuclear can be used as a short example of that, and the molten salt reactors as another example of that. By the time they've approved the legislation, that they've done all the legislative action necessary to even approve a project, submitted all the design proposals, put out the bids, actually started the work, usually by then the regulations have changed just a notch and the codes have changed just a notch, so they need to run in and make some upgrades real quick, which takes some more time. By the time they got it built, we've got we've got micro reactors. By the time we went through all of this, if we would have just waited, there would have been micro reactors available. Then we could have put them in for a quarter of the cost. And a quarter of the time. And they're right there at the edge of critical mass, which means they're a lot safer. They're a lot safer because they don't run away. They don't have the ability to run away like they used to. What is it? Making what? Wrong about what? Making what now? U.S. Navy has been using micro nuclear for over 50. Dude, nuclear technology's been available a long time. We've been using it as long as we've been. It comes in all sorts of shapes and sizes. But the fact is that it wasn't what it is now. These were hard and difficult to sustain. We've got better materials now. Yeah, we've known about that a long time, yes. But the point is by the time we put in all these giant facilities, by the time we get it all done, spent, there's better options. And that's the point. It's going to happen again. Mark my words. We're going to dump into these giant we're going to jump into big giant nuclear projects. And by the time we get right towards the end, somebody's going to throw a fuss saying we need to just cancel all this. It'll be cheaper for us to cancel it and let all that money go to waste and set up on these new ones, these new types of facilities that'll be coming. And then the other problem is you got to get the public to understand too. Well, all this stems from the, uranium being an important metal, but all these metals, we can dig them up all day, but unless we have the ability to also refine them and then produce something with them, we're going to need trade partners, and in between that, us as the end consumers, unless we're making these decisions personally or have a say in this, the only thing we need to be ready for is our personal lives, and then the lives of our families and friends and our communities, because if we're all set up, again, no knee jerk, no reason to rush any of these projects, no reason to, man, we're in a tough spot right now internationally where I don't know how long he wanted to keep this going. Hold on, stand by, y'all. All right, y'all. It looks like B is not going to be back in this moment. Um, his his computer appears to his computer died on him. He's been having problems with it recently. It's not like he had a terrible computer. It just, they're these dang things are literally designed to break now. It's dango conspiracy, isn't it? Yeah, Jake, business is picking up in Iran, isn't it? Did you see that that boat of Iran's get taken out? That ship of Iran's? That was something else by a sub. It's wild. More gold needed in his computer, exactly. But you know what it is? They're getting chintzy on that gold. You know, they don't want it. They don't want to share it no more. Not in the computers. So, all right. Well, on that note, guys, I'm going to go ahead and shut it down for him. I appreciate y'all coming out and supporting him in this. Make sure to go visit each other's channels. If you guys got any interest in silver, gold, platinum, osmium, rhenium, and probably a couple other alternative investments, go ahead and get a hold of Ian at ARK S.G.O. And feel free to get a hold of me for if you got any interest in some of my pretties. Got a lot of vapor deposition work and osmium I can share with you guys. B's got his own line of osmium in the hexagons, which is extremely gorgeous. I love the hexes. And he's got he's got his osmium cylinder, his six shot revolver cylinder. And so the osmium stingers. Lots of platinum and palladium in stock. Yes. And I know you were having some trouble actually there for a minute. You were seeing a bit of a shortage in the market, if I remember right. It was getting kind of difficult to get a hold of. Yeah, guys, if you have an interest, All your platinum group metals, you know, people love to call them a thin market. They're not a thin market. They are a fat little greedy market, and the reason it seems like a thin market is because every time this stuff goes on shelf, it's back off the shelf in moments, because there's too many people like me that see some platinum kookaburras pop up and want to jump on them. You know, palladium, yes, it is rare in retail form. Yes, it's and I do believe they're going to be putting some more effort towards it soon. People have responded really well to it, and if you do count catalytics like vehicle catalytics, if you're one of those that factor those into your considerations, into your investment considerations when looking at platinum and palladium, just know that palladium is oftentimes a quite desired metal for the catalytics because it can perform like platinum with much less material mass, like much less volume of material, and they can get the same job done, and it's preferable in our zones, in our heat zones, because until you start getting into Arctic zones, then yeah, you'd be looking at like ruthenium. But in our temperature zones, palladium is where it's at. And so like a three-stage catalytic is going to have platinum, palladium, rhodium as an example. And so palladium being one of the primary component stages of it. Yeah, half the density of platinum. Yeah, so they literally get to use twice as much for approximately the same price. And in some cases, palladium is once again one of the irreplaceables. You can't always just substitute palladium with platinum or ruthenium. It doesn't work that way. There are some things only palladium will work. Some things only platinum will work. But um, yeah, but palladium is for a long time, like there were guys out there talking palladium and trading palladium before it really started coming into focus in the bullion markets and the coinage markets. It's really only more recently that we've been seeing them pop up with any kind of a real frequency. And right now, these early years are going to be highly desirable because it's going to be a while till people can and safely invest in palladium in the sense that like knowing who you're getting your palladium from without going into you know hours and hours of calls and meetings with people, because that's how you used to have to do it. If you wanted to invest in palladium, you're going to need to know somebody, and it's not that way anymore. And it won't be long before the that desirability starts catching up in our premiums, and we're going to see palladium responding a little bit quicker than platinum, I believe, soon, um, especially in the industrial markets. And again, guys, I know I'm bumping rhenium for Ian right now, but if y'all have listened to me enough, you know that I'm speaking from a position of it's a very Spartan like position, in the sense very utilitarian, in the sense that I don't consider trade ratios like most people. I'm looking at natural occurrence, production occurrence, and consumption occurrence. And yes, rhenium is drastically undervalued. And quite frankly, the people that buy rhenium, they don't give a damn what it costs, because rhenium is such a small percentage of their production cost that rhenium could go through the roof and they never bat an eye. They don't care. It's everybody else that's got to compete, you know? And and rhenium's very communicable um in as a recycling metal. um there's a lot of metals that guys won't take in the recycling world. They just don't really want to mess with. They don't really care, or they're really particular about what form of the metal is coming in. And rhenium just simply isn't one of those. They don't care. It's too valuable. Like they need every scrap of it they can get. Or, if they put more out there, more would be consumed. Um, there's just simply not enough out there for them to increase production. You can't, I mean, we could increase the production, but we'd just be narrowing the frame of its existence, you know. And the fact that it's a companion metal, it means that it's not like they're out there with rhenium mines. They're mining something else. And so, like when you look at like metals like copper, right? These are really big operations. A copper operation is a really, really, really big operation. So to tell a copper operation, well, you just need to increase your operation. You just need to pour more dirt up. They're like, dude, we're talking about a lot of dirt, giant machines. You don't just like magically open up copper mines and just start kicking it out. And without these, you're not getting your companion metals out of that copper. So you are highly dependent on your host material or your host metal that they're initially aiming at, your primary source metal. And when you start looking at these companion metals, it's infinitely more, it becomes infinitely more critically inaccessible, especially when you start having problems with your primary host metals like copper. Dude, if here in New Mexico, we've been through this already. In the past 2 decades, we've been going through this with our copper. We produce a lot of copper. We produce uranium. We produce a couple. We got a couple of our important metals that that when they became financially undesirable to the investment crowd, the smaller guys simply couldn't sustain the cost of operation, and we lost a lot of copper mines. Because let's face it, they can run in the red for a little bit, hoping that eventually their $5 stone becomes a $20 stone, right? But eventually they're just exhausted financially and they shut down. And the cost of reinitializing an operation like that is incredibly expensive. And so when we lose these huge operations, we also lose all of that precious metal that's in this host body. And so when we're talking about rhenium being absorbed 80% of the whole market with one customer, that customer has no intention of going away. In fact, they are increasing operations. It's going to become very competitive for that metal soon, which means price is going to go through the roof, especially with us losing access to other sources. A lot of the, look, silver and gold's everywhere, guys, but not rhenium and osmium and platinum and palladium and hafnium and there's just, some metals that just only exist in a few places, and you're either friends with the dealer or you're not. End of story. You're either going to own some of this metal or you're not. End of story. And that's my position. I'd take it with a grain of salt, but what metal's more at risk? 40 tons a year or 400,000 tons a year? There's something to be said about metals with less than 100 tons a year that are produced in less than 100 tons a year. So think about it. The same things that make our silver and our gold and our platinum valuable, and that we can kind of get a sense of the timing of the markets based on how much is in the ground and how fast can we pull it up and how fast can we refine it and package it and distribute it and who's asking for it, how fast is it being consumed. When you put these dynamics on other metals, you discover quite quickly that there are some metals that are are ready to rock it in any day. The moment the public wakes up, gets involved, that's it. That is the thinning of the market. That is the official thinning of the market. The moment the public wakes up, there's a couple metals that if that there are some of these metals, there are major companies praying that we don't wake up, because if we wake up to some of these metals and start buying them up as our tangibles now, not theirs, our tangibles in our hands. And if they want that metal, they're going to have to ask us for that metal. They don't want that because they know that if we get involved and start buying it, that's it. It's going to be off the shelf. And then we're all going to be competing with with each other, go into that producer saying, dude, I'll give you $10 more than that other guy. And they're desperately afraid of this, because if we find out, we could clear the market overnight, guys. It really wouldn't, like Rhenium, if we all came together, like grabbed your buddy and you grab some money and he grabs some money and we all get together and we just start piling in on a metal like Rhenium, dude, we could literally empty the market in, crazy fast. You want to talk about like Hunt's Brother 2.0, Hunt Brothers 2.0. Like smackaroos, guys. We could take Rhenium off the shelf tomorrow, freaking tomorrow, and it wouldn't take that many of us, and it wouldn't take that much money right now either. Right now, come back in a year and watch what happens. Ian has over doubled his investment in a year. Can we corner the Rhenium? Fuck yeah, we can, dude. We could literally own the Rhenium market with it. Just if a couple of us got on a bandwagon together, no shit, we could, like, overnight, we could, like, if we started competing with these guys, here, I'll tell you one that I've been saying for a long time, and I ain't got nobody to shut me down before I say it. Indium. I've been saying that one for a long time. It's a good example, of a limited resource, extremely important. And I'll tell you what, the indium market is afraid that if we start stacking indium, if we do, the shelves will be clear overnight again. And then they're all going to have to compete for indium all of a sudden. They're going to have to start paying a higher price for it because it is that valuable, and they will pay it. They'll pay whatever it costs. They're just hoping we don't get in and consume it all and raise the price up and make your iPhone go from $1,000 to $10,000 overnight. But we could do it. You want to talk about making yourself a wealthy guy overnight? Coordinate with your neighbor. Be at peace with your neighbor. Coordinate with your neighbor. Everybody get together, throw a couple bucks in on a single metal, own it, get rich overnight, and do it on the next. Cooperation. We are only a cooperative force away from some of these metals. Guys, I could give you 10 metals right away that if we just hit them one at a time together as one big stampeding crowd, like, they wouldn't have time to catch on to the rhythm, and we could have it done in 10 days, kind of attitude, no Rhenium, no jet engines, end of story. Yep. And dude, that's not it. Rhenium goes into catalytics too, dude. It's in catalytics, it's in thermal operations, like anything that uses a high amount of temperature, that creates a high creates and sustains a high temperature environment, is oftentimes using Rhenium, especially in movable parts or thin parts or reaction vessels. And because Rhenium, what Rhenium in essence does, shorthand version of what Rhenium does, where normally a metal, whenever it heats up and shrinks and heats and shrinks and heats and shrinks, it starts creating all these little microfractures and it loses its ductility, which means it can't bend and flop and wiggle anymore. And as these, like a jet engine, think about it, it'll it'll go up, 2,000 degrees difference in a second. It could rise 2,000 degrees difference in a second. And then the moment they turn off that thrust, dude, it's going to go into sub-zero temperatures instantly. Pop. So you need a metal that can help that thermal transition, and prevent thermal shock and thermal creep, and help it be able to maintain its memory. And so if we didn't have rhenium in these parts, right? If we weren't using rhenium for these, they'd get hot, cold, fracture, break, done. Yeah, just like I said. And again, it's chemical resistance. When you're burning gases, nitrogens and hydrogens and oxygens, dude, you're creating corrosive gases, highly corrosive, that are much more corrosive than their liquid form. A corrosive gas is way more corrosive than a corrosive liquid. And so when you're dealing with high temperature, corrosive gases, thermal shock, extreme kinetic forces, when you hold your hand out the window, when you're playing airplane with your hand down the highway, well, think about that times 100, times 1,000, the force of those speeds in the air. And the whole point is like rhenium solves this. And this is why Boeing is going to come in and absorb every last bit, because it's very small price on their overall ticket. And they don't care. They just tack it in on the end of the cost anyways, which somebody else is going to pay because they want that jet engine. Because it's a pretty meaningless cost to them too, overall. And so it's not going away. The consumer's not going away. The dependence is not going away. Hell, they're even looking at, and rhenium's even starting to take a mark in the jewelry world. Very heavy, very deep, kind of a bluish hue to it. It looks fantastic, polished. It looks like deep, like some kind of like deep water. Is like, I don't know, like a deep dark water. It's almost what it looks like polished up. Extremely scratch. Oh my goodness. When I took a piece of that, Ian sent me with a bar to let's go have this bar polished. Let's polish it, right? And so I'm in the Denver area, found a guy whose whole entire job is polishing metal, like specialty polishing of metal pieces, like pieces that need to be ultra polished, flat, smooth for like mechanical purposes. That guy had a field day with the metal. He gave it everything he had, and he was able to barely affect a spot not much bigger than that watch, you know? And he was amazed at this metal, how difficult it was to even polish it. And that's his whole job in life. He had to send me with a polishing prescription, of different diamond pastes and tools to use, pneumatic tools. It took, like, he was expecting 15-minute polish, and he worked for like a freaking hour on a $50 size spot. It's an incredible metal. I'm such a nerd. I'm the perfect one to love on a metal like this. I'm not completely, like, look, I believe every one of us should have a foundation of gold, silver, and platinum. Yes, absolutely. And once you've accumulated a safe, operable amount of your gold and silver, and platinum, this is when you should start. I really think you should. This is where you start going after these things, and going after these alternative metals that have hyper performance compared to our silver and gold. Dude, these things hyper perform. This isn't the only metal that hyper performs. And this is going to. Its time is due. This is an issue of numbers, of when, not if. Yeah, only tungsten has a higher melting point. It's an incredible metal, and it's well worth an investment. But people are going to be like, well, it's not like I could take that down to the pawn shop and sell it, you know? Well, that might be true right now. But look, guys, any metal that you get, the hope is that you're going to be holding it for longer than a day. And if you are, then that gives you at least one day to call around and see where you're going to sell this to. Do your due diligence. Do a little bit of calling, make a few calls. It wouldn't take you too long to find somebody to buy Rhenium, figure out what their prices are going to be, shake hands, metaphorically shake hands with the guy and tell him, hey, put my name on a list. I'll be calling up someday. Thank you for your time. And then when you're ready, guess what? You already know the number. You already know the guy. He's got you in a notebook somewhere. He's expecting you to call someday. You call him up. You say, I want to get rid of these pieces. He says, send it over. We'll do a test and cut you a check. No different than calling up freaking SD Bullion and asking them to buy your metal. It's really not that big of a deal with these alternative metals. Just a little bit of effort and a little bit of responsibility, and you're out of this problem. And hopefully you're holding it long enough to shop around and find a couple guys that want your metal. There's somebody to buy any metal on that period. You just got to take a moment. There are a couple things like buy with an assay. Yes. Buy with an assay, buy with an assay. Yes. Spend 10 extra bucks when you buy your metal. Get the stupid certificate. They want it. It makes it easier. Do all of them necessitate it? No. But it's going to make your world a lot easier. But we know this already, don't we? Certificates of authenticity with that coin. It sure helps. When you buy that Rolex, you better have that paperwork and the plastic in there, in that box. And the extra links. Always ask for the extra links. Oh, so many people let the extra link go away. If not, they need to offset the cost of those links if they don't have all the links, by the way. But I'm just saying a couple things. And look, there's plenty of us out here to talk to about this. Come talk to me. Go talk to Ian. Go talk to B. We're a little bit practiced in this. There's just a couple little things that once you got them figured out, once you know them, dude, you're off and running in the metals market with brand new advantages at your disposal, brand new tools and resources, new metals. When everybody's fussing, you don't like the price of silver today? Fine. Maybe you'll like the price of this other metal. So, and osmium. Love osmium. I got a bunch of metals I'm a real big fan of. I'm not stuck on one metal, but as a good buddy of mine had mentored me once, it is important to focus your efforts and make the most out of something. Sometimes I am over diversified, meaning like, although I'm prepared to make a good capture at any time, my capture just really won't be that much in a lot of these. Like, yeah, I could go capture, sell it off, make it, and yeah, I won, sold it off. I'm extra profit. But you know what's a lot more profit than 1 ounce selling? 100 ounces selling. But people like me tend to have the problem of like having 100 different types of ounces of metals, where you could be a lot more effective with 100 ounces of one metal. But you don't ever want to be all your eggs in one basket. So you start splitting off, develop your bases, and then go play with a metal. Be hyper effective with it, get in, invest powerfully, and reap the rewards powerfully, and then move on to the next one with that extra income, right? And that's what was signaled to me, that I absorbed from this, and I appreciate that because I've been over diversified. So now it's important to like aim at a metal, get uh, an effective sum together. That way, whenever I am ready to sell, I have that multiplying power on it. Instead of just selling the one piece and being right, I can sell 100 pieces and be right. And so again, I really think, guys, we could own a lot of these different metals if we would just educate each other, inspire the confidence in one another, um, and act together. Um, we could improve each other's lives and prevent the knee jerk in the future. When they want us to knee jerk, we won't have to. You know, when they want us to spend the extra $10 on the beef, we're going to have a freezer full, and we're going to spend that $10 on silver or something. You know, and we're going to stop that knee jerk together. We're going to operate together, and we're going to educate each other, and we're going to tell each other where all the good deals are, so we can all run and hop in and benefit from this. You know, and as we help each other benefit, the benefits will just ever increase, and we'll be independent people again. And we're not far from that now. Most of us are all on the right track. You know, so oh man, I've kept B stream going for too long. Again, appreciate y'all being here. Thank you. Thank you guys for your contributions in this. You know, I really like the way you guys respond to these and the challenges you offer as well. Thank you guys for that. And it gives me a lot to think about. Yeah, still less than twice. Right. Which means it's a choice, guys. It's not out of reach. It's not out of reach. A lot of these are not out of reach. They're cheap. They're on freaking discount right now because the market has not gotten wise to it yet. But guess what, guys? We are the wise market. They are wise to these metals. We are wise to it. And we're telling you now. We're working together and we're saying it now. We're wise to this. We know, guys, we're in these chats. You guys are making the same points we're making all the time. You guys are saying it too. You guys are half of the points we make. We learn from you. You guys teach us and tell us about what's going on out there. And then we get out here and we, you know, and put our own experience in with this. And look, guys, can't we look back and be like, yeah, pat each other, everybody pat yourself on the back right now. You were right. And you've been right a long time. You've been right a long time. Now own it, live it, operate in confidence now. We're doing great. Times are hard, but we're doing great. We're all on the right track. We know what choices to make. We've been right about these things for years, and we've been being proven correct. And they always try to spook us out of this, and we stood our ground, and we've been correct the whole time. All of us have been. I've been in these chats with y'all in other people's rooms, other hosts talking about other things, and I've been right there with y'all, seeing your responses, you know, and we've said nay to that and yay to that. And guess what? We were right the whole damn time. Quit letting the world fucking fill us full of fear. We know what's up. We're not stupid people. We just need to act on it, put our money where our mouth is. We have each other. We're all on the right track. Guys, we can make big differences. This is the perfect time to do it too. It's such perfect timing. Like the USD still has your USD, your Canadian, your your British pound. Like these all still have some power in them. Might as well act while these have a little bit of effective power, while we still have some resources. Let's just act. We know where we're right. We got game plans. Let's put some basics down, get on it, and let's prosper each other. And if you guys come across something, spit it out. I want to win too. Yeah, 20 years, gold and silver, and you've been right the whole damn time. And you get to reap the rewards of that. Well, guys, I say let's just get ahead. Move on it. Let's trust each other and trust ourselves a little bit. I really think, think about it. How many times have we shut ourselves down, guys, and said, no, I don't know. And then a year freaking later, wish I would have jumped on that. I am so sick of saying that, and I'm making a difference. I'm making a difference by putting my money where my mouth is. I'll take the gamble. What's the worst that can happen? It's not like stocks and cryptos. Those dwindle to zero. Those can dwindle to zero, literally. And then you're stuck holding zero, nothing until it's something again. But with metals, it will only dwindle to metal. You will always have a metal. It cannot dwindle to zero. I mean, you will always have a metal, even if it's smacking a crook upside the head with a block of metal. It'll always be worth something. It could be your doorstop, but dang it, that's better than zero. It's better than zero. Non-fungible zero. Maybe we can make doorstops popular again and put some premium back into that, but at least you got something. And that's where we're at. So let's pick the good ones that we all know are gonna be used, and we already know. We talk about it every day. So, all right, I'm gonna shut it down now. Much love, y'all. Appreciate you supporting B. Thank you for supporting me and hanging out with me. And dollar cost averaging, worked for me too. I don't dollar cost average everything, but where I do, it has proven to be effective. Yes, it has. I've been really happy with the results of it. And even if you are a dollar cost guy, and you do like to run that dollar cost average, there's nothing that says you can't, hit a little bit of timing while you're at it. Nothing wrong with that, right? Hey, it's a good day. Normally I wait till Tuesday, but hey, this Saturday looks like a good time. Nothing says you can't. So stay diverse, right? Appreciate y'all. Hope to see you soon. Next time we'll let B lead the show and I won't just talk over him this whole time, right? So later, Chew. Good seeing you. Appreciate you guys. Thanks for everything. Yep. Take care. Osmium isn't for everyone. Yep. That's true. Neither is gold. So, all right. Bye, guys. Appreciate you. Later.